What's up, everybody? It's your boy Bentist back again. You guys tagged me in some crazy videos. That's right, I take the craziest videos each week and we react to them in the dental world, and it's some crazy stuff, I tell you what. No, seriously, you guys tagged me in some crazy videos. You know what, I just better do explain. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, reminder to wear your rubber bands, guys. What do you mean? I hate this. Oh, you got the springs. Okay, so everybody, we'll go ahead and look here when we block it in, when we pause it. Boom, there we go, we see it. That is a spring. Now, I think this one's particularly called a TP spring. I can't remember the exact brand of it, but there's multiple different springs you can have. But basically, this one screws onto the wire here and down here, and it's basically a metal rubber band that you can't take off. Now, if you didn't know, the purpose of our rubber bands is to actually move the jaws, you underbite, override, all that, moving these things left and right, and they only work if you have that force happening over a long period of time. And that means if you're not wearing your rubber bands, we're not getting the force over time, and we're not gonna get the movement that we want. So in some cases, if you do it for long enough, we just say, hey, we're just gonna leave it off. And that just is what it is, and you're gonna have to get it redone when you're older. And some people, we decide to go ahead and go into springs. And even though these are pretty much a torture device and way worse than having the actual rubber bands, well, you weren't mature enough to wear your rubber bands, so we had to take action into our own hands. Because we can straighten things up, we can fix bites, we can do everything else except for wear the rubber bands for you. So we slap on the springs, and then 3 months later, basically your bite is fixed, and we get done all the work that you could have just done by wearing your rubber bands. Seeing this without my bands on right now. Exactly, I know you guys are forgetting. And someone else said, remind me every time. And I get it, it's hard. And actually a little pro tip for you, whenever I was in school, I would take them off and then put them on my pencil or put them around my pinky finger if you can, if it doesn't cut off your circulation. That way, after I was done eating or I was back in class, I would see that rubber band on my pencil. I'd be like, oh crap, I gotta put rubber bands back on. And then I would put rubber bands back on. A nice little pro tip for my braces users out there. She'd say, gee, I will. And yeah, I get it. I mean, trust me, you just want to wear rubber bands, fix it in a couple months, and not get the springs. It's a big mess, and you could just avoid it by, you know, wearing your rubber bands. All right, do not get those.
I'm gonna show you guys how to take off your bite blocks out. This is my first time doing it. I've never done it because I just got them. But I'm gonna, there's a will this way because I'm not doing this.
Oh, she's got the bite blocks.
I don't know what to do.
Okay, we are how old here, Missy? I know you are way too old to be crashing out over some bite blocks on your mouth. And trust me, the ones in the back are way better than the ones in the front, because at least you can eat with the ones in the back. But for real though, actually it's kind of funny because weirdly enough, the adults or the older people are some of the worst patients versus the kids. Kids, you put bite blocks on them, you give them rubber bands, you give them springs, you do all this crazy stuff, expander in their mouth, everything, and they're just like, you know, but they deal with it and they figure it out and they don't really complain that much, actually. In fact, the adults are the ones that have mental breakdowns like this, crashing out because you put a little bit of glue on the back of their teeth to stop them from biting down onto something. And so if you didn't know, these things are bite blocks. They're things that go on either the back of the front teeth or the back of the back teeth, basically to lift your bite up, to move your bite in different ways. And also another thing is, like, if you're biting down on your brackets and you're just gonna hit them and you're gonna break them off, well, we need to get them out of the way so your braces can actually do what they're supposed to do. Now, normally you're gonna get them on the back of your front teeth. That's to help fix a deep bite, but sometimes you put them on the back teeth if you have like a really open bite and you're trying to deepen it a little bit, or if you have just too much of an overbite to get them down there. Girl, you are so dramatic. Exactly. I mean, they're bite, like, they're not even the bad bite blocks. These are like not even like that big of a deal at all. She's making it seem like it is the end of the world. And then she's like, girl, I had braces for 3 years. Take a painkiller and sleep. You know, maybe she just needs a Snickers. You know, she's not herself when she's hungry. And then she said, it's not that serious. You're right, it's not that serious. These are actually pretty chill and not really that big of a deal at all. And they are right. Over time, your teeth will come together closer and closer. So every day it will be easier and easier on you. And a lot of those ones in the back, you grind away before you even have to get them off anyway. So it's really not that big a deal.
Model beauty hacks. This one is for whitening your teeth. Basically what I learned when I got my braces off when I was a teenager, my dentist told me this. Every time you bleach them, it opens the pores. So you want to bleach your teeth again while the pores are open.
She's actually not wrong. Your teeth is actually kind of like a sponge. There's all these tiny little holes. We call them enamel and dental tubules. They're basically little tubules that go inside the teeth, into the dentin, into the actual nerve area, and they help the body connect from the outside to the inside of your teeth. And she is very right. When you whiten, that hydrogen peroxide actually dissolves the organic matter that fills in those holes, which is kind of like the stuff you eat all day long and just random minerals and stuff from your saliva pack in those holes. And when you use whitening, well, it dissolves it also. It can get inside your teeth and actually whiten, and so they are open. And that's actually what causes sensitivity as well, is because now you've got that air flow that can go directly into the nerve because all your tubes are closed. So let's see what she was saying.
People tell me I have super white teeth very often and ask me how I bleached my teeth, and I'm like, I haven't done it in years, but what I did way back when was just you bleach them consistently, like short, close together periods of time. Bleach your teeth and then 2 days later bleach them again, and then 2 days later bleach them again. And I just use like crest whitening strips. I think any teeth whitening strips work. Your teeth will low-key be like super sensitive, but that's the trick. It works.
So there you go. And I don't actually think that's a bad idea at all. In fact, I totally agree with her. I think just kind of getting it over with and doing it consistently for a while, and it doesn't matter what whitening strip you use, as long as there's hydrogen peroxide in it, it's going to work, whether it's a gel or a strip or whatever it is. It just has to be hydrogen peroxide. And yes, if you are doing it consistently, yes, you don't have to dissolve those holes, and so it's easier for it to go in. But although you do get a little increased sensitivity doing that, but either way, it's not that big of a deal. So honestly, not a bad idea. Doesn't whitening damage your enamel though? And actually, that's fun fact, that's a lie. That's a lie that I don't know where that came from, but actually no. Whitening with hydrogen peroxide does not damage your enamel at all. In fact, the thing that does damage your enamel is trying to use those whitening toothpastes that are highly abrasive, like a charcoal toothpaste or something like that, actually does rip off your teeth, which is totally funny. For how long do your teeth stay sensitive? And that's actually a pretty good thing, because the same reason why you whiten by unplugging those holes, that's what's causing the sensitivity. So the time it takes to get unsensitive is just how long it takes for those organic plugs to fill back up. Normally it takes like 24 to 48 hours for it to naturally fill back up, but you can use some things like sensitive toothpaste, like Sensodyne has potassium nitrate, or 10% nanohydroxyapatite. Nanohydroxyapatite is really good at kind of helping with sensitive and really refilling those holes back up. So basically just however long it takes for your organic matter to fill back up those tubules. Either way, just use hydrogen peroxide. It doesn't really matter how you do it, it's gonna whiten your teeth. All right, watch me realize my braces have created 2 uneven front teeth. Oh my gosh, I see them. And there they are. Now this is actually something that we get a ton in the orthodontics world. And you know, what do they say? Things always look worse before they get better. Braces can be that way sometimes because we're moving teeth around, okay? And there could be a couple reasons why this happens. One, she's in the middle of treatment, things are moving around. In the middle of treatment, we see kind of what's off, and we do what's called a pano-repo appointment, where we take a panoramic x-ray and then we reposition the brackets if we need to get the things that are maybe off. Like this tooth is off a little bit, we drop the bracket down to lift it back up. Another thing we can do is we can use TMA wires, and we can actually bend a little step-up bend there to drag this tooth up. Now, the other thing that could happen is that she has worn down one of the teeth, and one of the teeth is actually shorter than the other teeth. And so actually what we do in orthodontics is we want to line up actually the gum tissue line, and then we leave and see how far the edges are off. And that way, if they're tiny off right here, we just do a little polishing enameloplasty to the edges to make them even again, leaving the top perfectly in line, because you wouldn't want the edges to be in line and then your gum tissue when you smile one is like higher than the other. That doesn't always look the best. My guess is more than likely they're still in the finishing stage of her stuff, and they will be moving a bracket around, or they will be adjusting some stuff. So don't worry, even though it's scary now and you're seeing things go off or might not be quite exactly where you are. Talk to your orthodontist when you come in. They'll probably reassure you that, hey, we're gonna take care of it. It's gonna happen eventually, I promise. It's the definition of trust the process. Oh my gosh, and literally Ella just said, ortho is always the biggest. Trust the process. It really is. Like the amount of times I have people come in and they're like, doc, is this really what it's supposed to? I'm like, just trust the process, trust the process. It takes time, okay? You gotta go through the wires. And there we go, you guys are so educated. One of the person says, once your braces are off, the doctor will actually shade the longer one down to match the other one. And yes, in that scenario where one is longer, one shorter, we do match them and we shade them down to be the equal. And that answers your question. She's basically said, yes, I was unaware my teeth could do this. This is my first time getting braces, only had them for 5 months. So that makes sense. She's probably just right about to get into that pano-repo appointment where they're gonna reposition things and make it all look good. So, you know, just don't worry about it. We went to school for like 15 years for a reason. It was a long time, cost a lot of money, but at least it's gonna give you that Hollywood smile.
If you have frequent nosebleeds,
oh my gosh,
there's a
we're in
crazy
the
chance
nose.
that you could have a tooth growing in your nose. This incredibly rare condition begins in the womb when a developing tooth bud migrates to the nose.
This is actually real, guys.
Once the tooth has developed, you might begin to experience chronic irritation in your nostril.
Yeah.
To remove it, a doctor will insert surgical instruments through your nostril and carefully extract the tooth.
This is actually a real thing. People really do get teeth in their noses sometimes. This is actually happening. We have these things called mesiodens too sometimes, which is basically, it's an extra tooth bud, right? In the middle of the line, extra tooth in the middle, mesio, you know? And sometimes, yes, you'll get it right inside this area. It'll actually come up through there. Now, I've seen them in some different places, and even you can get them like up in here somewhere, and you gotta like go over in and get it and stuff. But yeah, through the nose is a very common place we see it. Actually, not very common, but for a mesiodens coming out of the face, that's kind of where it's gonna be. In fact, you can have extra tooth buds in a lot of different places. We call that hyperdontia, where you basically have a lot of extra teeth around instead of just the ones that you have. And it's basically just random tooth buds going in random places. Do you call a doctor or a dentist for that? A lot of times you may call an oral surgeon for something like this. A dentist probably wouldn't take it on. Maybe an ear, nose, and throat guy. Maybe they work together sometimes. You know, that does happen where we get like cross-dependent between different doctors and we all work together. This happens a lot in like cleft lip and palate too. We work with multiple different doctors to get things like that done. Why do I not believe this? Well, you should believe it because it's true. And know a lot of you guys, people commenting in there saying like, I got a nosebleed. Do I have one of these? No, you probably don't. You would know if you had a tooth coming out of your nose. Either way, still pretty crazy. All right, double jaw surgery, 8-week progress. Oh my gosh, first off, we got to go ahead and pause it here at the beginning. What a lower jaw. This is what we call a class 3 skeletal issue. It's where you have a big underbite, right? And sometimes it's from the lower jaw growing too far. Sometimes it's from the upper jaw not growing far enough. And for him, it kind of looks like both happen. You see, when the lower jaw gets out in front of the upper jaw is normally the containing arch. It stops your lower jaw from growing. So if this is just out here doing nothing and nothing is holding it back, it can just grow all it wants. Whereas actually it's now stopping the upper jaw from growing as well. So if you look at his face, he really does need a double jaw surgery. The lower jaw needs to come back, the upper jaw needs to come forward. So let's go ahead and see what the progress looks like. Oh my gosh, yeah, right after. You can see a huge change already, even though the lip is kind of crazy, you know. I know girls that would pay money for that. Look at that profile, looks so much better. We look at this thing called the E-line, where it's the nose, lips, and chin all kind of come together here. Before it was like, wow, way out there. Kind of remind me of that McDonald's mascot it was a moon face guy. Yeah, anyways. But now he looks really good. That jaw has really came back. The upper jaw has really came far forward. That's why that upper lip is just, it's had so much trauma there that it's kind of blown up. That will go down over time. And that was only 8 weeks. You know, there's not a lot of times that I actually recommend surgery for people because a lot of times it's just tooth related and it's pretty easy to fix. But trust me, when they come in, they need jaw surgery, you know they need jaw surgery. And this one 100% could not be fixed with just braces by itself, no matter what you did. That one's a jaw surgery patient. Oh, that's funny. Lucy was like, bro, he kind of was mogging over there with that big old lip. The temperature guy below had the moon face guy, weirdly enough. I'm telling you, there is a McDonald's mascot from like the early 90s who was like a moon. Like a half moon. I can't remember what he is. I'm gonna try and find it and put it up here, but I remember to see him. You got lip filler? Looks good, man. I was gonna say there's a lot of girls out there that paid a lot of money to get lips that look like that, okay? Either way, super cool that you got that done. Hope your recovery goes awesome. It really does look that good, and his life is gonna be changed forever after that, which is one of the cool things about being an orthodontist oral surgeon. We can do some really cool stuff. Oh my gosh. Oh man, because my tooth is killing me. I can't sleep. Oh my god. You know, the crazy thing is there's some people that are saying like she's overreacting, and I can tell you right now, tooth pain is one of the worst pains in the entire world. And this is why I am so adamant, and most dentists are adamant about like getting your wisdom teeth out and stuff. Because, you know, you don't think that you need them out. You're like, oh, I don't need these things out. I can barely see them. Only a little piece is sticking up. Well, that little piece is sticking up, even though your whole tooth can't come in, will eventually get infected. And then that infection will turn to a bigger infection, which will turn into a root canal, which will turn into an abscess, shooting your whole face out sideways. And then you're going to be in so much pain, you physically cannot sleep. And then you're going to have to go to the ER, and then you're going to have to go get emergency surgery to get it out. Big old abscess, and it's a big problem. The other issue that I see with this is they'll go in and they'll get some emergency antibiotics, either from the ER or the dental office. And then they'll take these antibiotics, it'll cause the swelling to go down, and then that pressure on the nerve will go away, and the pain will kind of let up on them. And they say, oh, okay, the pain's gone, I'm good. No, tooth pain is not like a normal infection where, you know, you got an infection on your arm, you treat it, and then all of a sudden you don't have the infection anymore. No, that infection is still growing and building inside that tooth, and it's actively kind of pushing the stuff out that you're fighting with that antibiotic. You are not going to cure your infection with that. You need to get a root canal, a crown, and probably, if it's too bad, a whole pulling of the tooth to get that infection out of your mouth so you don't have that issue anymore. So even if you go get antibiotics, a couple days later, it's gonna turn into this. You're gonna be so mad that you didn't go get it done when you were supposed to. I'm telling you, tooth pain is the worst. This girl is not overreacting. I have seen way worse than this, and I would never want to be in a position with a huge abscess tooth because it is painful. She isn't overreacting, by the way. Exactly. She's really not. It's kind of like that big of a deal. And Irish says it is this serious. And actually, it is pretty serious because if you have an infection, it can actually get up into what we call the cavernous sinus, and that infection can go up into the brain, and it can actually you and take you out. Yeah, it really does happen. Oh my gosh, Noah said I know a guy, the Hawaiian dude who like pulled his tooth out. I remember that from like a couple months ago. Yeah, no, that's always an option, is just pull of the tooth. Unfortunately, in the lower income communities, that's happening a lot, you know, where they'll have a abscess, something like that. They can't get the root canal on the crown, and unfortunately they just pull the tooth because they just have to get rid of that pain. I really wish that, you know, we could make dentistry a little cheaper so that we could save more teeth. That would be awesome. Working on it with our company, something nice, but you know, it's gonna take a while. But you know what you can do to avoid this? Brush and floss and take care of your teeth, because then if you don't let it get infected in the first place, it can't get worse, and then it can't get a huge abscess, and you can't be in that crazy dental pain. Either way, it's not a place that I want to be. You know what is another thing you could do though, is you could hit that like button and subscribe, because I'm trying to get to 10 million followers to get this racket off my dang teeth. I love you guys. Keep tagging me in the videos, and I'll see you next week. Bye.